Now, government is suspending the laying of the controversial legislative instrument seeking to restrict the importation of at least 22 items. The Trade and Industry Minister has been struggling to lay the L.I. after spirited opposition by the minority who say the L.I. will lead to grand corruption. According to a highly placed source in government, the decision by government is that the L.I. will no longer be laid and more consultation will be made in the coming days. Ranking member on the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, Bernard Ahiafo, says the decision to suspend the laying of the L.I. is welcomed.
It is good that this particular L.I. is suspended to give room for further consultation, because at the material moment that the L.I. was being considered by the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation, I was with that particular committee. So I took part in the consideration of the L.I. Provision by provisions. But there were issues at preliminary stage. One of the issues raised at the preliminary stage was the fact that the committee wants to satisfy itself whether the ministry, before bringing the L.I., has done a stakeholder engagement, and if so, the committee will want to see a report from the ministry indicating that a stakeholder engagement has been done, so that all the stakeholders and Ghanaians, for that matter, are carried along in the passage of this particular L.I. after its introduction into law. They haven't brought anything that I have perused to the effect that there has been a stakeholder engagement as required by the committee. So we have taken a decision that until the committee is satisfied that that is done, the L.I. should not be laid. The second reading was that, having regard to the items listed at page 15 of the L.I., we took the items one after the other. That one, taking rice into consideration, committee members are not oblivious to the fact that Ghana, we are producing rice. But what we are producing, is it enough to take care of the country for us to be putting measures in place to restrict the importation? Simply because if that is not taken into consideration, what will happen is that any power given to the minister to license, if the minister decides not to license, it may lead to a shortage of rice in the country, and that definitely will translate into the increase in price of rice.
We can now listen to correspondent Kweku Asante, who has joined us via Zoom. Kweku, why is government now backing down on its decision? Did your sources say?
The thing we are getting is that the lobby has been strong. It's gone right to the very top of government, and the pressure has been intense. The president at the top has caved in, and the decision now is to order the Trade and Industry Minister to do further consultation on this legislative instrument, especially because government is going into an election year next year. And the lobby of these groups are very strong. Some of them actually even support government with money, a lot of it. So the concern is that let's do further consultation. Let's try and get all people on board before we can lay this. In fact, up until this morning, if you look at the order paper for today on item 8, this business has still been listed to be done. And the expectation was that KTMO would have laid it today or tomorrow. But the new information coming in now is that KTMO should not lay this L.I. until further consultation is done. In terms of what exactly this consultation, the form it will take, we do not know yet, because KTMO has always insisted that he has consulted enough members in these groupings, and he expected that they would back this legislative instrument. But this higher up directive will mean that this L.I. will not be laid, and businesses will have some reprieve now until maybe February, when more consultations are done, and government will decide to revise the legislative instrument and put it before the House.
Has this been made official to the House?
Well, Parliament hasn't started sitting yet. There is a funeral of a former majority leader whose death has delayed sitting today. And so officially, this has not been put in the House. But given the way things work usually, this will not be announced on the floor. It will just happen that it will not be laid. It will go off to other people, and that will be it until another time when really people feel like this situation has been dealt with. And so those are the concerns. But the information has been filtering in Parliament. The minority in particular are excited because they believe that this is a victory they've chalked. They have been spirited in their opposition to this airline, and finally they've gotten what they want, and this airline laying has been suspended.
Kwekwa Asante, stay on for me, because the minority in Parliament say its stance on the 2024 budget remain unchanged, vowing to scuttle the approval of the 2024 budget statement and economic policy. Today, Parliament will hold a head count to decide whether the statement should be approved or not after an earlier voice vote was challenged by the NDC MPs. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent is still with me. Kwekwa Asante, has the budget been approved?
Not yet, Aisha. As we speak, the budget is still in limbo. The Speaker of Parliament had cause last week to clarify that Parliament had not passed the 2024 budget and economic statement. We should distinguish that the budget and economic policy is different from the various estimates, which will be passed in a combination of what is called the appropriation, usually on the last day before Parliament goes on break. What is currently on the floor now is the statement and economic policy, which was presented by the Finance Minister just a few weeks back. And so today, when Parliament starts, we understand that is going to be the major business the House will deal with. They will call for the head count. MPs should stand up in their decks to be counted. Which side gets more numbers, get their way through. And so it's really going to be about numbers game. Like I was telling you early on, the majority side will have to count their numbers very well. The number of their colleagues who are currently at COP28, who have not returned to the country, the number of them who have also left the country for various other reasons. Of course, a few other minority MPs are also not around, but it will come down to which side has more MPs currently not in the country. And so when sitting starts, I should say.
Kwekwa Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. Kwekwa Asante, if you can hear me, is there anything also on the LGBTQ bill?
Well, that is still on the other paper, and if there is enough time after the budget, I'm sure the Speaker of Parliament himself presiding may decide that they do the second reading and go ahead with a consideration, cross by cross consideration. But it's still on the other paper. A decision has not been taken on that yet.
Thank you, Kwekwa Asante, for bringing us that update. There is more we'll be bringing your way from Parliament in our subsequent bulletins. Now, the land.